All right, welcome. Just going to go over the Wild depth chart as it currently stands. It's July 8th of 2022. I've tried to go to a bunch of different websites to see what the depth charts look like, especially for the Wild, because I think they're a little interesting. And it's very all over the place. CBS had Greenway on the second line as a left winger instead of Jost. It didn't have Brodin as like a top five defenseman, so I don't know. But as it stands, this is currently the Wild's depth chart. First line's going to stay the same from last season. Kaprizov on the left wing, Hartman centering, and Zuccarello on the right wing. Second line's going to look a little different with the departure of Fiala. Jost should get that top six winger role. He's a natural center, so that helps too. Kaprizov has played center. Usually you want one of your wingers to be able to take a face-off when you need them to. That's huge. Jost isn't great in the face-off dot, but nonetheless has face-off experience. So should both centers get kicked out in a face-off circle, Jost can come in with a lot more experience than another winger he might be going against. So that's good, but Jost should be on that second line as a winger to start the season. Gaudreau centering that second line with Boldy on the right wing. Boldy's only played 47 games. I kind of tried to denote like newer players / rookies. Third line should stay the same. Foligno on the left wing, Eriksson centering that line with Jordan Greenway on the right wing. Again, kind of like last year, I wouldn't be surprised if we see these lines swap throughout the year. On any given night, the Foligno line might be the second line. On any other given night, the Jost line might be the second line. We'll see how Dean Evason manages this going forward, because both, kind of more of a scoring line, kind of a significantly more of a defensive line. So we'll see what happens with that. The fourth line's going to look a little interesting. You got Connor Dewar on the left wing. He's only played 35 NHL games. He's someone who probably will be staple to that fourth line throughout the year. He needs a few more years. He usually takes a few years in any given league to adjust, and then starts to produce offensively quite a bit. It'll be an adjustment period for him. I'm sure he's going to stay on the fourth line pretty much the whole year. Should he explode, he might take Jost's spot if Jost isn't doing all that great. Dean Evason might play around with the lines a little bit. But this is my hunch to start the season. Dewar, probably a staple on that fourth line. Marco Rossi, who is a rookie. Actually, I think he's played. Give me 1 second. He has played 2 NHL games. So a natural rookie, but he should start the season with the Wild as a center. Duhaime on that right wing. He's also played 80 games, so about a full season. Rossi and Gaudreau, I could see them swapping halfway through the season-ish. Rossi might get some second line minutes. Gaudreau might be a staple to that fourth line to finish the season. Regardless, Gaudreau's been pretty good on that second line, and Rossi's supposed to be a 1-2C type of player. So we'll see how Rossi's development goes and how Jost and Gaudreau match up on that second line. Boldy's going to score. He's got talent. So that could be interesting to watch as well. If Rossi gets up on this second line, you kind of have the kid line. I don't know. It's not really a kid line. I know that's taken in New York. But, you got a bunch of highly touted young draft picks, one of which hasn't really panned out yet. Boldy has, and we don't know what Rossi brings, but that could be a very lethal line. Should Jost flourish on that wing like we know he can, and Rossi live up to his potential, I think that could be a really fun line to watch. So then you have 3 great lines. In your fourth line, you have a lot of young prospects. You can just fill that up. Maybe Mason Shaw gets a chance, or Chafee to move up if there's injuries or whatever you have. So the forward group should be interesting. I think Dean Evason has some options to play around with. We'll see what happens. If you have to swap Greenway or put Foligno or somebody else on that second line in place of Jost, you can see how Evanston has a lot of options, but I think this is pretty much the depth chart to start the season. Pending any other trades or free agent pickups or whatever you may have. Defense, you have Middleton and Spurgeon. They finished the year strong on that first line pairing. I don't see that changing. Second line, again, Brodin and Dumba. One of the best top four defense pairings in the league. I it's impressive, Middleton and Spurgeon, Brodin and Dumba. That's a fantastic top four. Not to mention you have Goligoski, who led all of the Minnesota Wild in plus-minus last year, and I don't know if he might have finished leading all defensemen in points as well. So Goligoski's aging, but he's no slouch, and he's on a very team-friendly deal. Kulikov and John Merrill will be third liners. At this point, they're depth defensemen, third line / depth. They both should have a permanent third line role, but the amount of defensive players the Wild currently have, one of them's going to be a consistent, healthy scratch. It helps that Kulikov can play on both sides. Goligoski can play on both sides, but definitely has tendencies. And Merrill. So we'll see what happens with that. That's my only move I'd anticipate the Wild to make throughout really this offseason and leading up to the trade deadline would be to move out a defenseman. And as we've discussed, of the top 5 defensemen, Middleton, Spurgeon, Brodin, Dumba, and Goligoski, everyone has a no-trade clause except Matt Dumba. He has a modified no-trade clause. He has to submit a 10-team no-trade list. So Dumba might be the odd man out. Kulikov could be an odd man out, and Merrill. Those are the only 3 guys that can get moved on defense. So should be interesting. They're going to need to figure out their cap space. Dumba's contract expires at the end of this year. They have they're going to need to spend money next season to retain some of these guys, especially Boldy. Boldy's going to command a nice pay increase. In the net at the moment, you have Talbot and Fleury as your 1A, 1B. They're both aging goaltenders. They both get really hot and really cold. I think that's the one spot the Wild need a little more security in. Again, Talbot was an all-star last year, but at the same time, he had stretches where he was abysmal. Fleury is just over a year removed from a Vezina caliber season. And at times, the Wild played in Carolina. I actually went to that game. Fleury stood on his head that game and got the win for the Wild. But there are other games where he didn't really look like a number 1 goaltender. So we'll see. But as it stands right now, this is the current depth chart of the Wild. Let me know what you guys think. If they're going to make moves or... Wow, my voice cracked. What's going on here? Do you think Dewar gets the start on the second line to start the season? Do you think Rossi gets a start on the second line? I don't know about that. I think after the season, Gaudreau just had a career year. His career stats have doubled across the board. I think Gaudreau starts on that second line. Do you think they find an alternative to Jost? Do you think they break up this this defensive line? Does Foligno or Greenway get a chance to be on the 2 left wing? Greenway and Foligno can play both wings, so it doesn't really matter. Pick your poison, if you will. I think when the Wild have gotten an injury on this line or one of these 3 players are out, they're not nearly as effective as they are when they have all 3 guys. They work really well together. It's a great situation to have them. This line's going to be fun to watch, though. Duhaime has some scoring upside. Rossi, projects to be a top 1 to 2 center, and Dewar projects to be a top 6 winger. Who knows? Maybe with the right amount of ice time, they explode, but or maybe they just are very lackluster and don't do a whole lot this year. That's going to be a really interesting line to watch. I'm curious to see how all 3 players evolve throughout the course of the season. But that's as that stands, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to see how this goes. I'm probably going to do the Bruins next, and if it all goes well, I might keep doing depth charts for different teams. there's not a whole lot of information out at the moment, and it's kind of an odd time as well with like UFAs and restricted free agents not being signed yet, and trades still happening because some teams they're really in a cap crunch or they're over the cap, and some teams are under the cap limit. So I might do it for the teams that are more ready to start the season, such as the Wild. I think the Wild are in a very good spot. I think the Bruins, there's only so much Boston can do to adjust their lineup. Any changes they make are going to have to be minor, especially if they anticipate signing Bergeron. They only have $2.38 million in cap space already. So I might do the Bruins next. I'm also a Bruins and Wild fan, which helps. But we'll see going forward. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and take care.